What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Notes from the Editors here on an Ink and Insight show where we get to go over all of our favorite things that are comic related, but maybe comic adjacent outside of our new releases here. My name is Eric. I'm from 9 Panel Grid here, and I'm joined, as always, with Stu from Dr. Doom's Fan Club. Stu, what's going on, man?
What's up, brother? Great day, man. Newsletter just dropped.
Yes.
Y'all check that out on the patreon.com/insights. He did a ton of hard work on that bad boy, so proud we got that together. Tony McMillan's a superstar in that one.
I would argue that the name that's is spelled STU shows up on the newsletter a heck of a lot more than my name does here. So thank you for all you and your hard work here. Man. Yeah, it just felt so appropriate maybe to drop a newsletter going over all the things we love about comics on the same day that we're talking about some of the books that really influenced our love of comic books here that are, again, not comic books, but books about comics. It just felt right. So yeah, of course, newsletter, Ink and Insights. Go to the Patreon, make sure that you're checking that out here. We had a blast making it and kind of coming up with all the fun details here. If you've already read it too, there's a pop quiz in there. Let us know what your answers are here. Let us know how you scored out. We're very curious on that
pop
one.
Quiz, hotshot.
Pop quiz. All right. Without further ado here, let's dive right in here because I have, no joke, like a stack of books, and we were talking backstage, and I think that you're kind of in the same good predicament to be in here.
Yeah, I have 11. 10 with me, one not present, though I did look for it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll kick things off with one of the books that I really enjoy. That's really, I mean, to this day, I still reference it. I was just looking through this last week in preparation for another video that I'm going to be putting out sometime later on down the road here. Very obvious choice, but very essential choice. Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud is like, again, like no one is going to be like, oh my God, I never saw that one coming. But I got to tell you, like when it comes to,
I don't have this one, man.
You don't really? Okay,
no,
but you
I don't
have you read
one.
it though?
I have not.
Okay, you know about it though, right?
I think so. Like I have an Amazon wish list of like books from way back in COVID that this is like when I really went on the comic book the books about comic books spree was during COVID, and I really wanted to learn the history and get all that down. So I feel like that's one of the building blocks, but I've never really heard of it or read it yet, honestly.
That's actually really exciting then, because to break it down a little bit, I mean, this is granted it's a little bit old school at this point because this was first published back in 1993. So some of the tactics that are talked about and some of the practices obviously were before a larger swath of digital tools were being used in the medium of comics. But it's an excellent representation of well, I mean, it's right there in the title, understanding comics, knowing exactly what it means to follow the path of a comic book page, read it, understand the legibility, and it like just gives a healthy way of like understanding what makes a comic book successful in your enjoyment level and maybe where things can go astray. And it especially helps out for people like you and I because, well, heck, and even the people in the chat here too, because whether or not you're reviewing comics on a YouTube channel or something like that, I think we're all, I mean, if you're taking things off of your pull list and adding things to your pull list, I think we're all reviewers at heart. And this helps you really kind of take gauge of maybe why something is just, really successful. But the really cool thing about this book is that it's all laid out as a comic book itself. So Scott McCloud,
that's beautiful. I love that.
Wrote this, drew it, and it's, again, like I go back to this all the time. So like simple things such as like color theory, right? The old printing techniques, the CMYK color palettes, the Ben-Day dots, Kirby Crackle, the namesake of my channel, the 9-panel grid. I reference all the time in this just to see the different patterns, the different utilization of the page layouts. Scott McCloud has done amazing things, and this is actually just the first book in a trilogy that he's done at this point, because he's done Reimagining Comics as well. There's another one that's slipping my mind at this point here, but this really kicks things off and jumpstarts the entire process with Understanding Comics. If you haven't, I'm glad to know that it's on your wish list here, man. I wish
I gotta go. I gotta make sure it is now. And like, I already see JD throwing up another title in the chat that I've never heard of. Like that's what I love about this. It's like I'm such a junkie for these type of books, so like I'm so excited to tonight hopefully get some titles that I haven't read.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, trust me. And the books that I have, by no means, I mean, it's a healthy collection, but it is not a
No,
completionist kind of
yeah,
collection.
and I
So
feel like this is one where this is a subject where or a genre where kind of like a lot of stuff slips through the cracks. You know what I mean? There's a lot of I think great unsung books out there on the subject one way or the other, or
yes.
the creation of comics or the history of it. So
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So actually, before we jump into maybe what your first pick is going to be, let's go ahead and say
yeah,
what up to a couple people that have joined us here real quickly. Starting off with Omega Slice Comics here, man. Nice to see you. Saw you were hanging over in the Hall Yeah chat as well, where they're talking to Martin Morazzo. Nice seeing you, man. We
yes,
got Simpleton Comics here. Nice seeing you, man. I'm sure that you have a plethora of these books here. If not, maybe even more so about the creation of certain hardcovers, man. So if you got some of those books, shout them out. Let us know in the chat. We got moderator extraordinaire here, Nick Comic Culture, throwing
hey,
out the link to the Patreon here, patreon.com/ink and insights. Again, newsletter just dropped here. All right. We got Omega saying there's a whole part where he goes over defining the word comic. Good stuff for sure. Yes, exactly. And it's funny that you bring that up because trust me, I've gotten into conversations about particularly what constitutes a comic or maybe what constitutes what a mini comic is. And sometimes there's disagreements over that kind of thing too. So yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's a nice reference tool to go back to. We got JD, as you were referencing here,
yes,
writing with
man.
panels, thinking balloons.
There we go.
I've
That's
never
what I'm
heard of
talking
that book,
about.
but
Love
it
it.
is going on the list here, man. So that one, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're gonna definitely dive into that and see what's up there. So keep throwing those suggestions out.
Yes.
All right, Stu, why don't you go ahead, kick us off here with your first book that you'd like to discuss
All right,
here?
dude. I'm gonna start with I think I think we can agree is a communal gem. I guess like part comic book history, part history of the game, part biopic. A book I've loved. I think I bought like 3 times over now.
Ooh,
Copies have gotten lost, tattered, beat to hell. It's Grant Morrison's Super Gods, guys. It's got to be on the list.
yes.
Um, this was like one of the, obviously one of my favorite creators, as we talked about before on our British Invasion episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love not only his, him talking about his entrance into the game and that time in comic books, but also his perspective on the history of the game, and how he got here, and just his incredible extensive knowledge of comic book history is just and there's elements where his ego kind of bleeds over in the page, but that's what I love about it, dude. And I love also his first person narrative. So I had bookmarked one of my favorite passages, and this is talking about one of my like favorite comic book moments ever is when it's the end of New X-Men for him, right? And it's not
Mm-hmm.
ended how he wanted, and so it gets announced that uh, a panel at Comic-Con that he's headed over to DC. But I just love, this is part of like what endears me to this book so much is like this first person narrative from him of like these events and how real and sincere he is. Anyway, I just want to read from it real quick. It was announced at a DC panel at the San Diego Comic Con, the industry equivalent of writing it on the moon in 100-mile high letters, that I would be returning to the bosom of DC Comics to accept a lucrative exclusive contract in a position as, quote, revamp guy in charge of rebooting dormant DC concepts. My notebooks had impressed Dan DiDio enough to throw in that last clause. As notice was given, one attendee sprang up from his chair like a ping pong ball, fired across a crowded Bangkok nightclub, and ran out of the room all the way to the Marvel booth with the news. And this is like where it gets crazy. Somehow Kristen and I had tried to convince ourselves that we could skip away from this declaration of hostilities without a backward glance. The one backward glance I did risk had a sinking Orphean inevitability and revealed Joe Quesada charging toward us down the hall. We kept walking slower now, preparing for the heavy hit on the shoulder. I felt bad. I like Joe a lot and told him so, blaming his boss for any breakdown in my brief relationship with Marvel Comics. I felt bad, but more than that, I was excited. The dam was about to burst. I couldn't wait to leave the febrile soap opera theater of the X-Men behind. Anyway, I just love this book so much. It's incredible. It's educational, and it's a dope insight into one of our best creators, a truly generational talent, and one of my favorite minds, and just a brilliant weirdo. So, Super Gods from Grant Morrison. I had to go with it number one because I know we all love it. We all got it.
Yes.
We all should. If you don't own this one, guys, grab a copy. So.
I second that wholeheartedly, obviously, by holding up the book here. You know, one of the things you had mentioned it when you were talking about it, that the his ego is very well placed in the book, right? Like, I mean, there's no denying that this is Grant Morrison through and through. But what I really like is that this would have been a self-indulgent book if it were anyone other than Grant Morrison. But
Right.
because it's Grant Morrison,
So true, bro.
it is like it transcends any kind of indulgence. It's just like you're transfixed on everything that they are and like their journey throughout this thing. It's not often you get to hear the story behind, you know, one of the absolute greatest creators of all time, period. Like we don't get that on an everyday basis, and we don't get to see what I feel like is a very honest expression of what their journey actually was. There's a lot of hubris out in the game, and you know what? If you're popular, you deserve it. But I feel like this isn't that. It's indulgent, but it feels very true to the experiences that were happening. So I dig this book a lot, man. This was an absolutely great choice.
Did you have a favorite, like, personal story or encounter from this one? Like, I loved hearing him talk about, like, meeting that Superman figure at that magical, I think he was with Mark Waid, where they met that, like, guy cosplaying as Superman, and it was his Superman, and like that was like the genesis where like All-Star Superman kind of started. Have you ever heard that story? And
No,
it
I
happened
hadn't
at like
previously.
a San Diego Comic-Con or something like that. Anyway, he recounts that in this book, among like so many other things. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's the thing. It's difficult to say like there's one thing that stands out to me. It really is one of those journey is greater than the destination kind of
yeah,
books. So it's hard for me to pinpoint something. There's and given the properties that they worked on during this time span that we're talking about too, um, each one is like really a defining run on on the particular character that they are working on. So like it's hard. It's really hard. Like, I mean, the new X-Men thing is interesting only because it's the one time in Grant's career that I feel like things kind of like took that left turn that nobody was anticipating, Grant himself. So like maybe that's it, but only because it's so vastly different than everything else that, you know, that's kind of been experienced throughout the career.
yeah, it's incredible. And it's just to think about Quesada in that moment, then turning into Joss Whedon, like pretty much like turning around and finding Joss Whedon and offering him X-Men. Just it's wild. I love that moment in comic book history. It's crazy.
Yeah, I personally I really dig Joss Whedon's astonishing X-Men run, but
Yeah,
it does feel like such a middle finger to everything that Grant tried to establish, and kind of like,
for sure.
you
It's
know, he drug X-Men kicking and
and what they
screaming.
did with like Zorn and I don't know. I think you've seen like the most sincere like love letters to his work and writers like Hickman and guys here recently. I think
Oh yeah.
before that it was a lot of like bastardizing of his themes and his characters. I think
Oh, yeah.
Remender was really the first guy who took his shit and was like, you know what I'm
I
saying?
was about to say that,
X
man.
Force, bro.
His
X
inclusion of
Force.
Phantom X and the way,
Yes.
like, while Grant created the character of Phantom X, I think that Phantom X truly like sung under Remender's
Mm,
penship. Like that what he
I
did with
love
that
that
character.
argument.
Oh, so
I'm here
good.
for that. That's a great point.
So good. All right. Um, for my next book that I'd like to talk about here, I mean, I think maybe I'll get rid of my obvious ones first. I think that's the way I'm gonna go, because this one
Sounds good.
is so painfully obvious. It may be even more obvious than understanding comics. How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way.
Oh yeah.
Fight me that this isn't still the greatest art book known to man. It is glorious. This was I've talked about this in the past that like my love of comic books really derived from picking up things from my local library as a child. Son of Origins, Origins of Marvel Comics, and Bring on the Bad Guys. Those were like the top tier things. I would just check those things out on repeat. But this was the other thing. Not only this though, but have you ever had the pleasure of watching the DVD or it back in the day the VHS copy of the filmed version of this?
No.
Dude. Oh my god. If Nick, if you're still out there in the chat, man, if you could track down the YouTube video of that and drop a link, oh my god, it is so cheesy and so glorious. It just is so worthwhile, man. It's very much exactly what you get in this book. It's Stan Lee and John Buscema talking about the craft again of making comic books and drawing things, but again, it's all under the guise of the Marvel way. So it's all kind of about like, oh, well, you know, we could be as simple as drawing a character punching a person. But if we go at the apex of the punch, either back here or as he follows through, that's what the Marvel way is, Excelsior. It's so true, though, man. There's still artists that like, you know, you and I, we both listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of like interviews, like talking to artists and stuff like that. There are so many of them still to this day that say, I go back to how to draw comics the Marvel way because I mean it really breaks it down, like talking about how to, you know, create poses, right? The form of the body, the anatomy, how to exaggerate them in the right way. And like I couldn't think of a more Marvel artist. Maybe Jack Kirby could take
Yeah,
the
well,
helm.
just maybe. I mean, come on.
No, I no,
Give me a
when I
break.
say maybe, I'm being
Jack would have puked all over Stan's freaking suit if he proposed an idea like that. You know, Jack couldn't have stand some shit like that. Because, like, I
no.
think you know they had a riff like that when Stan tried to do that okie dokie shit with the interview, right?
Oh
Where
yeah.
like the guy showed up and he jumped up on the desk and you know it was this whole act.
Oh yeah,
Like,
for sure.
sure, Stan, sure, sure.
But it's crazy to this day when I close my eyes and I just think Marvel, it's John Buscema's artwork that jumps out at me. It's his interpretation of all of these classic characters that are like the first things that jump to my mind. And sure, there's like some characters where it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe Spider-Man's going to be, you know, Ramita Sr. or something like that. But I got to say, I don't even know if that's true or not. I really, truly think it's going to be Buscema that kind of rings true for Marvel for me. So,
So when was your like exposure to this book? Like, was it super early?
oh yeah, super early. I had
Okay.
to have been, I mean, it was maybe 7, probably 6 if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
Is that the artist in you right there?
it is. Are you kidding me? Like
Yeah,
from like a very young age.
that's
That was
awesome.
the dream that was like cemented very early on. It wasn't until my, you know, mid-20s where it was beaten relentlessly out of me.
Yeah,
And I realized, yeah, maybe I don't have the talent to do this. But
dude, you do. Don't be ridiculous. Like
shush, 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 shush,
this
shush,
guy is no slouch with the
shush.
pencils. Don't make me go
But yeah,
grab a piece though.
looking through this book, man, it's so glorious. It still gives me like all of the feels that it did when a 7-year-old Eric was getting this from the library and trying to figure out how to render these characters, right? And how to make really dynamic poses. And some of this stuff, man, I gotta say, it's still, I mean, there's some things in here that put like some modern day comics to shame, like no joke. Like some of the ways that they just approach the figure work. I love like just simple things like this, man. Like taking the Spider-Man figure, breaking it down, showing how to build it up and make it
Yeah,
really
that's
work
awesome.
on the page. Glorious stuff. And come on, look at that. Look at that back cover, man. If you're not wearing this hat while you're drawing, by the way, you're doing it wrong. You're just flat out doing it wrong. So invest in the hat first,
Yep,
then get the Wacom, you know,
exactly.
stylist and all that kind of stuff and really work your way up. But hat first. That's
Like
what I've
Dion
learned.
said, look good, play good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look
Exactly.
good.
So, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. That's definitely my number 2 pick. Did you? So, do you have any exposure to this book? Did you dive into this at any time?
Not really, man. To be honest, I've
No.
always known. I always have known about that one. Not like McLeod's, but you know, McLeod's is more of like a thing. I feel like I've heard about it, but like that one, you know, I've definitely heard of about that one. But
Yeah.
no, I am intrigued to watch the video. I think more than pick up the book though. After.
Oh, it's so incredibly cheesy, but like
Yeah.
I could throw that thing on and watch it on repeat just about any day. So yeah, I'll hook you up with a link, man. It's out there on the
Oh
YouTubes
yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely. All right, man. I guess balls in my court. All right, since we're on the Marvel Comics train, I'm gonna go Marvel Comics, The Untold Story by Sean Howe. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant book. I reference this one all the time. Um, and what I love about it is it really covers a lot of the things I'm interested in as far as Marvel's history and like, the writers or books or events that went down. And it's got a lot of fascinating backstory, whether it be Jack and Stan. Um, there's a lot of great Frank Miller Daredevil stuff in here. A lot of stuff I've used for videos of mine about him. Like, I never knew to the extent of like the things he was going through in New York City, getting mugged at knife point and all that. Like, it just, I don't know. It's just wonderful how it gives you perspective on your favorite creators in these comic books. But you know also there's a brilliant passage about a, radio conversation between Jack and Stan when they were kind of on the outs.
Oh,
um
that's a rough one, dude.
Dude, I think it was Jack's birthday, right? And Stan
Yeah.
calls in and it gets real awkward, but I just love the recounting of that in this book. But also Sienkiewicz coming on New Mutants, and uh there's great little backstory there. There's great story about I forget what character they were gonna. I think it had something to do with Jean Grey, and they broke the news to Claremont, and the Senti had Claremont hostage in a bar. Like it's just all that
Yeah.
stuff I've gotten from this book, man. So, so much fascinating backstory, and we need books like this, right? We need these stories to be remembered and written down, so we can carry them forward because they are part of the legacy of these characters, and these books that had such a big impact on them. Mine's beat to shit. Like a lot of these like historical books I have are because I read them so much. This one is fantastic, guys. Just a really and this is like where a blind spot kind of comes in for me as far as like mine fall into the category of either historical or about the making of comics themselves. And then when it comes to historical stuff, it's really all on the Marvel side. I need some DC history. So if you guys have some good books on DC history, please let me know. But yeah, Marvel Comics, The Untold Story, Sean Howe. Pick this one up, y'all. Great book.
Dude, I'm embarrassed to say, like, while I know some of the stories out of that book, I've never actually read that book. Like, I
Well,
gotta.
I mean, if you know some of the stories, then there it is. But yeah, dude, it's fantastic. Highly recommend.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely got to check that one out, man. That's got to be high up on my list. And it was funny when I was putting together my, the piles and researching what books maybe I should talk about and which ones. I mean, that was very high up there, and I was just like, oh my god, please do save me because if we don't talk about this one, like, what are we even doing right
Yeah.
now?
Oh yeah. Got
Yeah.
you, bro.
All right, we've had a couple more people join us here and a couple more comments. We got Nick saying we've talked about this before, but Miller Eisner interview
Oh,
is great.
I gotta get that.
What a great transition. We're
There
gonna
you
talk about
go.
that real quick. Right after we talk about Silver Surfer poster. Did you get a new poster? Is that I've never seen that one before. That's
I mean,
crazy.
it might be brand new and how fresh it is, but
That could be. That could
it's
be what
been there
it
all the time. We love you, Mobius.
is. Glorious. We got JD saying words for pictures
Ooh,
by
you
Brian
might see
Michael.
that on somebody's list, man. Hold the phone.
JD, dude, breaking it down, man. Thank you
JD's
for putting.
got some books, man. We got
Yeah,
a, and I got a Douglas Woke book on my list, but I haven't heard this reading comics one he recommended earlier. Douglas
nice.
Woke
Yeah.
was incredible. What a champion for the culture he is. So
Yeah, I'm dropping some of the the ones that I don't have in my collection. I already dropped them on my notes right now because I'm going to be checking these out. So thank you again for hanging with us here. And then we got Pete joining us here, man. Pete, always great to
Pete,
see
what
you,
up,
man.
bro? Hell yeah.
Thanks for hanging. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this because I just really
Yeah.
want to guilt you a little bit. Can you
Go ahead.
silently guilted me with the Marvel book right there? I'm sorry, Eisner Miller. Man, if you ever wanted to read a book about two cantankerous individuals just chatting about whatever it is they want to talk about, but considering their craft, of course, it's going to be about comic books. This is the book for you. This is like the two dudes from the Muppets up in the balcony, right? But comic book creators. That is exactly what this is. Because let me tell you, we we bow down to the altar of Miller. I think it's fair to say that we really appreciate and enjoy his work. Let me tell you though, Eisner has no qualms about calling him on his crap, and it's so freaking good. It is so freaking worthwhile in this book, man, because like they really take each other to task in a loving way. You could tell that there's a loving relationship there where they poke and prod at each other, and it's something that takes place over a good swath of time. They talk about traveling back and forth, where Miller was going to go see Eisner, who I believe was living in Florida at the time, and like there's like different instances where they're hanging out by the pool and talking, and it's just
So they
kind of like
just it's a series of conversations they transcribed.
that's all it is. It's
That's
conversations that
beautiful.
are
I love that.
transcribed. But like, let me tell you, when it's a conversation between Will Eisner and Frank Miller, it is it is something to behold, man. Because when they talk about drawing, particularly inking, like I don't have the passage marked here, but there is a section in here when they talk about basically the appeal of inking your own work, and they're just like, there's something sexy about the line, right? The ink flowing over the line, like, and I think it may have been Will Eisner that said this, but it's like, drawing a line across like some of your pencils is like running your hand across the human body. Like there's something sensual about it.
Mm,
And I was like, dude, like, could you imagine having this freaking conversation with some of these people? It is it is awesome. It is so candid and so unique, like, we there's interviews, and this is not that. It's not an interview back and forth whatsoever. It is very truly a conversation where maybe they have some talking points that they want to go over, but it is through and through just a glorious conversation about all the things comics, their approaches, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, praising some of their work and critiquing some of their work, right? Like, I mean, when you talk about Will Eisner, there's a million things that you could talk about with his influence in comics, whether it's just like I mean, my
absolutely.
favorite inclusion from him is just really the usage of like landscapes for titles. When you think about the Spirit, like every single title page or like credits page starts with like the Spirit like laid out in bricks, or like highlighted with the light of a cop car, or something really cool and some really crazy inventive way to go about it. You get little breakdowns and little conversation pieces about all that kind of stuff within this book.
That's so
Also, their scathing remarks on the way that comics work and the way that they don't work. The nature of the floppy, how it sells, how it is both incredibly instructional for how we read comics, but also detrimental to our enjoyment of comics, knowing that the single issue experience doesn't always get I don't know, get finished, right? It's kind of like the concept of like writing for the trade. They're very critical about what comics were modern day at this point, which I believe was the early 2000s. This is an awesome book. Like, if you're looking, this might be like one of those top tier, top three kind of comic books if you want to really kind of get into, I don't know, a good conversation with people that are like, again, some of the greatest creators of all time. Eisner, Miller, check this one out, man. This is such an excellent read, man, and I encourage all of you to find it. It came out through Dark Horse Books, kind of hard to find nowadays, but check out eBay. I've found some good listings for decent prices out there, so go get yourself a copy.
Oh yeah. On that note, there's a great conversation with Klaus Janson and Uncle Frank about Eisner on YouTube. It's like an hour
Ooh.
plus long. It's incredible. Frank's so good, great in conversation. I feel like when it
Oh
comes
yeah.
to
Well, the dude has opinions on comics, and that's a good
yeah,
thing to have, like whether he's right or wrong, or whether you agree with him or not. Like, he's passionate about the things that he talks about, and the things that he works on. And I mean, it's impossible not to, like, I don't know, be entertained and just appreciate that.
absolutely. All right, bro. Great pick. All right, let's move on. This one is more general. Now, this one does have um, some good DC stuff because it is American Comics and History. This one is by Jeremy Dauber. This one is another great one that I've referenced time and time again.
Ooh, okay.
Um, yeah, you ever heard of this one?
No, no, I'm glad that we're kind of ping ponging back and forth, and we don't have books that the other one has read.
Yeah, man, absolutely. This one comes up to, I'm trying to see like what era. I want to say the 2010s, but a great fascinating read. Had some really interesting stuff about. This was like one of the books that put me on to the history behind Free Comic Book Day, and it being an event in conjunction with the first Spider-Man movie. And um I don't know, I just love that I can go back to books like this, and books like Sean's House, and just like remember specific events or things that they put me on to. So I think it's a great general history type of book to pick up if you just want to you know kind of find your way. This was a book I picked up in, I want to say 2020, 2021, when I was really trying to learn my back history of the genre, and where we came from, what our history was. And this was this, along with Sean Howe's book, were two that were instrumental in helping me find my way. So I'd highly recommend this one. There's again like both this one and Sean's book have a brilliant, this one particularly when it comes to Dark Knight Returns, as a brilliant like 3 or 4 pages where it talks about that. So it's just great to see other creators who are passionate about the same books, like I said, and the same creators that you are, and really just do deep dives and give you all this juicy behind the scenes stuff that you never knew.
Hmm.
It just deepens your love, for these tales and these people and these and the genre even more. So yeah, American History, or American Comics and History by Jeremy Dauber, guys. Make sure you pick this one up.
So I'm kind of curious because from what I know about you, you're a bit of a history buff outside of comics, right? Would that be a fair
For
assessment?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So does that kind of, is that where your interests lean a little bit outside of reading the comics themselves? Are you more fascinated with like, the story behind how they were made?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's always fascinated me. I like to think I have a creative mind, and I love to see process. I love to see how things are put together, whether it's you know writers doing their thing or musicians in the studio. I love to see how the sausage gets made, as it were. So it's always fascinated me, and I feel like I think it honestly has a lot to do with hip hop and tracing the history of samples and where things come from,
Okay.
and how one thing influences the other. It's always intrigued me in some sense, and how it's all around us, every day. So um, I don't know. It's beautiful in that way, dude. So it's yeah. I've like growing up, Dad was big into history, got me into history, and it's always like ingrained in me, and in a way that's like kind of fused with the creative process. Like I love when those two things are put together, like you said about books that I love. I'm all for it. I was just going through today a bunch of old Uncle Frank interviews about Daredevil, and seeing him change, and physically interview to interview, and where he was at health wise and stuff like that. It's crazy, but he's always articulate. He's always passionate. Um, warts and all. So it's I it's relatable, and it's what I love about art as a whole. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I kind of went on a mean streak, well, a little bit earlier this year, maybe late last year as well, when I started picking up a lot of like Amazing Heroes back issues and like
yo,
Marvel Age, and like really kind of like going back and and trying my best to find out like where the mindset of these creators were at the time that they were creating some of these things that we look at now, and we're like, oh, well, they're career defining or they changed the industry. it's really interesting to see, yeah, what the creator was thinking at that time and what their process was without knowing the level of impact that it was ever going to have. Like that's a really fascinating thing, and vice versa. Some grandiose projects that just fall by the wayside, right? Or like they rarely get talked about here. Not to say that they're bad quality or anything like that, but unsung maybe. So it's kind of really interesting to see people talk about like taking these big swings, or maybe not even realize that they're taking the big swings. And it's
Yeah.
cool stuff, man. It's definitely worthwhile. So
And I like the lack of like kind of media, physical media, as it were, and the mystery that still kind of surrounded, these creators and what was going on. You know what I mean? It was hard
oh
to.
yeah.
These interviews were few and far between, if ever. And I don't know. It's just it's always fascinating to me. So
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like that bygone era, right? That's what kind of the thing that made Wizard magazine so special for us back in the day
yes,
as well, is
bro. I
that
thought about bringing a bunch of wizards just as one of my entries, like straight up, because when you talk about books about comics that influenced you or had a huge impact on you, Wizard magazine, man.
yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, well let's just take a second. Let's give Wizard a shout out here.
Yes,
Man, without Wizard magazine, none of the rest of this stuff is going to get talked about. Like, I mean, it is something, if it didn't ignite the flames of passion for comics for you, it kept the tinder going, right? Because every issue was something special. They had different artists and different creators taking on like the cover. I love the covers of Wizard magazine, especially the early ones where you got the people having these characters don the wizard mask, the purple one with the stars on it. Like, oh my God, like that stuff was just special. And even when it got cheesy and hokey and very, very commercial and maybe influential in the wrong way, it was still something that just felt special to me. Like even in the latter
yes,
days of all this kind of stuff, man, there was something dude, I got such a kick out of looking at the top 10 creators and being
dude. I
like,
was just about to say that. Like
yeah,
every time I go through a '94 old back issue, and I see like top 10 artists, I'm like, that's fucking cool. Why don't we do that anymore?
I-
Why don't we fucking like rate people? Like if we, I just, we obviously have lack of like a flagship publication like that and like something to do with it, but still, like it would be cool to see both fans and creators invested in something like that in a fun way.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's a way that could be reestablished for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. But man, I got so jazzed every time I was just like, yes, like that dude made it. Like Bachalo made it to the top of the list. Oh yeah, take that. Whoever you got knocked
Yeah.
off the top. Oh, but it was yeah. Some of that stuff was so glorious, and it still holds up to this day. Being able to look back at those kind of things, man. So yeah, you see, Derek knows what's up, man. Derek, first of all, nice seeing you, man. But yeah, the
What up,
Bart
Derek?
Sears,
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Heck yeah, his art
Dude,
breakdowns. Oh,
uh,
so good.
I knew where it was. I got the Alex Ross. I think it's the hundredth one, but it's the Todd McFarlane homage with Spidey in the wizard like hat and robe.
Yes.
Dude, like there's so many. I got so many bangers, man. I got so many favorite wizard magazines. I try to pick them up whenever I can if I see some I don't have, like because you don't see them out in the wild like that. And I love to grab as many as I have. I have a huge stack in the bathroom.
Yeah, dude.
My wife loves it.
Dude, straight up, like I don't see him in shops anymore. Like, and being on the West Coast, I feel like there's a disparity between like what's on this side of the country as opposed to what's on the East Coast. I feel like East Coast has way more classic stuff. And it's crazy to think of 90s things as classic nowadays, but it's true. Like
Mhm.
East Coast has way more likelihood of getting that. But the last time, in fact, the only time I've seen Wizard magazines probably in the last couple of years has been at Heroes Con. Like, going through the long bins, I was like, oh, look, a couple Wizard magazines. That's wild to think about, man.
Yeah, my shop. I think my guy has some in storage, and like one time he was like, I'll bring some out. I'll bring them out if you want to buy some. And I like he brought them out, but I bought some, but I don't think like I bought as many as he hoped I would. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
he
So it's like, and he like I don't. He said like he had a bunch before. He had like a bulk bulk bunch from a collection, but he just could like he had trouble moving them, which I was surprised, but um yeah, I don't know. I just don't see him. don't see him there, as much as I would like, at least.
Yeah, that's okay though. That's okay. We're
Yeah.
hopefully doing our best to reignite that wizard magic in the modern day a little bit.
Indeed, indeed, my friend. All
Right
right,
here.
so whose turn is it? Is it your turn?
Yeah, I'll go next here. We got a couple more comments here. Omega saying he's got a peace out, man. Great seeing you while
Oh
you
yeah,
were
bro.
here.
Thanks for coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Simpleton making a recommendation here. Monthly Patreon poll here. Top writers, top artists. I kind of like that.
I
I kind
love
of like
that.
that idea, man.
I love that.
Maybe we'll have to brainstorm a little bit on that one here.
Yeah.
JD saying Joe Kubert's Comic Book Studio.
Add another one to the list.
JD, man, I'm not sure
Maybe.
if this is the same one that you're talking about here, but
Ooh,
I'll take this as an opportunity to talk about this. Superheroes, Joe
dude,
Kubert's
no
Wonderful World of
way.
Comics.
You gotta get the Joe Kubert book. I didn't know he had a book.
Neither did I. In fact, I got this maybe a couple years ago. I've talked about it before. There's like a handful of shops around me, and there's, I try to hit up one, like one of them a month outside of my like regular shop.
Mhm.
And this was just sitting there at this place, like just, gathering dust on the stands. I'm like, holy crap! Like Joe Kubert is, comic book royalty. Like the Kuberts are like arguably, I mean, the biggest name in comic books at this point, right? They got the school, you got Joe, you got Andy, you got Adam, you got Emma doing work now. And I believe that one of their other daughters is actually an editor at DC right now, too. Like, I mean, talk about like a lineage of
Oh
comic
yeah.
book love right
Shout out
there.
to one of the best families in comics.
Yes, absolutely. But very much akin to How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. This is essentially Joe Kubert's version of that. But man, it's just a little bit different, right? It's gonna be Joe Kubert flavored, and I really dig that. There's a heck of a lot more of his stylings in here, man. You get to see a lot of like his how do I say this? Like his, I don't want to say primitive work, but like kind of like, and when I say that, I mean like his fantastical work, right? Fantasy driven, Tarzan related kind of things,
Mm.
human anatomy that is very different than, than what you get out of the John Buscema version that we get in Marvel. In fact, like if you look at this, it's kind of crazy. Like we talked about Bart Sears for Wizard. Like if you look at the muscle structure on the characters that he's rendering here, tell me that that doesn't influence Bart Sears just a little bit, man. And that's something I didn't even realize in the past. So, Joe Kubert, superhero. It says superheroes, the wonderful world of comics. I got to say, though, there's not a lot of superhero in this, but that kind of excites me a little bit. This is definitely different than the Marvel bravado that they brought with the Excelsior flavored version of that book. This is definitely a whole different beast altogether. Still breaks down all of the basics that you need, how to draw these characters, how to make up your own original characters, how to lay out a page. It's awesome. This is good
Oh
stuff
yeah.
here. Again, by one of the absolute best artists that were ever in the game here, Joe Kubert's Superheroes, the wonderful world of comics, man. I think that may do it for my art specific books. Maybe.
All right,
So I think,
I'm gonna save my I'm gonna finish up my historical run, and then I got my books about the making of comics, I guess.
okay.
All right. Last but certainly not least, my man JD mentioned one of his books earlier. This one's all of the Marvels. Douglas Woke, guys. He read the entire Marvel bibliography, all the Marvel books,
Are you
and
serious?
yeah, and really like highlighted. His favorites are not his favorites. I guess the ones he saw as the bigger moments, the ones worth talking about. So
Influential, yeah.
he's got chapters like the mutant metaphor, um, Lee, Kirby, and Ditko. He's got the ultimate line. He covers that. He like for as much as Frank Miller is covered in the other ones, he's not really mentioned in this one. But it's like a lot of Hickman, the New Avengers, all that stuff leading up to Secret Wars. It's a nice little spotlight in here, but it's really like I don't know if you're familiar with Douglas Wolfe, but he really is one of comic books best scholars, and has written a bunch of books. He's got a great also Dune podcast out there that he ran for a
Ah,
while,
now we know.
which had which had he brought on like different creators, different guests, all of all types to talk about issues featuring Doom. It was super dope. He had like an whole intro, like with a little like Latvian, message about a message from your emperor and stuff like that. It was really good. Production value was really quality. Anyway, he's one of my favorite scholars of comic books. Incredible dude, Douglas Wolf. All of the Marvels. This one is super dope. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. Like when I look at this one, when I talk about things about I think about for the these books that I'm reading, the masters of the kung fu history and how Doug Munch. How do you pronounce his last name? Moench. Guy.
NCH.
I've always wondered
I'm
because
afraid to say it out loud now because
same
yeah,
Munch.
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 I
Help us
don't know.
out, chat. Help us out. Anyway, was on that book for a while, and he had these thoughtful readers who were often Asian who would write in and politely critique his characterization of the culture and those people, and like he established like this semi lifelong correspondence with some of these people. One of them ended up becoming a teacher or a scholar or something like that, and was reading as a young adult, as a teenager or a man in his early 20s, and started writing and had these conversations. It was just incredible. I thought it was incredible history about how it was an incredible example to me about how like a reader and a creator can connect and really form a relationship over he heard this guy's concerns. It wasn't the case of like a lot of times where you get complaints from the readers or polite critiques. These creators take it the wrong way or get offended.
Mhm.
He heard this guy's concerns and they established like pretty much a lifelong correspondence with him, and the guy went on to become a renowned college professor and scholar, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just really fascinating to me. I forget the guy's name. I'm doing him a disservice, but that was like one of the most fascinating chapters in this book. So again, this is why I'm saying I went super Marvel heavy, but I wish I had more DC. But this is the last of my kind of historical type books about comics, but all the Marvels, Douglas Wolf.
So I gotta ask, man, because I have not had the pleasure of reading any of those. If you were to narrow it down, what would be your top pick of those three historical ones that you showcased?
Man, probably yeah. It would be Sean Howe's Marvel Comics Untold Story.
Untold Story. Okay.
Yeah. Douglas Wolk is cool and it like highlights issues that you were already going to be familiar with and some you might not be. And American Comics by Jeremy Dauber, a history by Jeremy Dauber is great, but definitely Sean Howe I think is has been the most rewarding to me read after read.
Nice. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I got some reading to do for sure here. Let's go into one of my next picks here. Let's see. Only because it's been shouted out a little bit, and this goes over some of again the creation of comic books. But I've showcased drawing a lot, but Words for Pictures by Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah.
What an awesome showcase about helping people. Yeah, see, there we go. About helping people get into the game of comic books. And not only that, but I remember technically he is a writer and an artist, but he really comes from a writer perspective in this. And I think that's just like it was something that was severely lacking in the industry when it came out. There weren't a lot of how to write comics the Marvel way kind of, like books that were out there. And when this came on the scene, the level of detail that he goes into on some of the stories that he was involved with, his relationships with artists, how he changes his techniques, right? Or how he writes for certain artists one way and like changes that technique for a different artist. How to pitch a comic. Like there's so many cool things that he goes over in this book. Incredibly well put together, man. This is like it's a really not only is it a great read, but the examples that they pull from and use, like from all of the stories, like I mean, Hallmark stories, a lot of Marvel in this. It does dive into some other things outside of that as well, but like, man, it just really goes into the thought and care behind writing for particular characters, writing for different artists, and just like, how to successfully craft a comic book through the narrative. I love this book, man. I'm to this day, I still root actively for Brian Michael Bendis, man. I really think
Mhm.
that he did great things for for Marvel Comics, for the industry of comic books. I think that he was part of like maybe a trio of people that made them exciting and cinematic and really changed comics for the better in the early 2000s. He had a big hand to play in that. And man, just kind of putting it forward here and like showing people how maybe how to get your foot in the door was an awesome addition to the history of comic books. So words for pictures. So you got it. What are your thoughts on
Dude,
this book?
incredible. Like he's got a chapter at the end called like Editors Roundtable where he's got like 3 or 4 different editors weighing in. It's gold. Like as far
Yes.
as like my favorite shit though is the chapter called the writer's side. He's got Matt Fraction talking
Breaking over Hawkeye. Yes.
dude. And can we talk about Matt talking about embracing the Marvel method? And I love this excerpt from the script and how it eventually came together. Okay, David, this is literally what he wrote for David Aha on artwork. Okay, David, on this page, a little car pulls up to a little suburban house, and nervous man gets out, half laughing to himself. He skulks to the front door, maybe adjusts his tie. He'll have like blood under his fingernails. He looks over his shoulder, knocks. Then the last image on the page needs to be we see he's got a gun behind his back. We're here, he'll say, at some point to no one in particular, and maybe giggle on his way to the door. Nervous killer creep here to wreak havoc, David. Okay. Like that's his instruction for a page and like to the level of trust he was able to have with his artist, man. And it's just like this guy's my type of creator. He is look at his notes for this is Hawkeye number 6. Like just look at his note. You know what I mean? This is my
Yeah.
type of guy. Like he just scribbled this out on a cocktail napkin or something.
I was gonna say, so
Like,
yeah, utter chaos. I
it's
get it.
incredible, man. I love this book. It's a great call. Like, you know, you can get scripts out there online or you can find little bits of interviews and stuff like that. You can't ever get like I think more comprehensive of a volume about like if you're the FAQs of like what you want to do and what you don't want to do when it comes to making comic books. So this one is an excellent inclusion, has to be on the list.
Heck yeah. All right, cool. I think that may have been our first crossover pick, man. We finally did it. We
You
got
had
it.
Super Gods. You had Super Gods.
Oh, Super Gods. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay, good call. Good call.
Yeah, we started with that. We started with a crossover.
There we go. All right. All right, Stu, man. What is your next selection?
All right, bro. All right. I'm whittling down here. How many you got left? You got a whole library? You ready to go?
I got a handful. I got a couple more.
Okay. Um, Alan Moore's writing for comics.
I think it was JD that put that in the chat too, and I'm like,
My man
oh,
JD knows what the hell time it is. That's right,
yes.
JD. This one collects an essay. This is from 1985, right? And this was in like a forgotten fanzine. Avatar got a hold of it, reprinted it. Shout out to them. Jason Burrows, who you'll know with his, from his work with Garth Ennis, did a bunch of little illustrations on it. This one is dope. This like a la his master class that he's done. That's out there. Yeah, I've seen clips of on YouTube. This one is dope. It's divided into chapters. The basic idea, thinking about comics. He has a chapter on pacing, structuring, how you want to tell your story. And then what is the last chapter? World building, place, and personality. So, like, if you want to hear about like from the greatest of all time, and then the details, plot, and script in chapter number 4. So, if you want to hear from the greatest of all time on those themes and subjects, I highly recommend this one. And like he's literally, about to change the game. 85. It's
That's
such a
right on the
unique,
precipice. Yeah.
right. It's such a unique window for him, and it's really dope that this thing was kind of like considered lost, because up till the point that he really did record those lessons for that masterclass, we didn't have a collection of his thoughts on storytelling and the making of comic books until we had this. So I just wanted to shout this one out. Yeah, Avatar Press, thank you.
Nice.
Seriously. Oh yeah.
When he's talking about that book, then is he talking maybe specifically towards things that he's going to be putting out with Swamp Thing?
Oh man, I'd have to reread it, honestly. I don't remember.
Okay.
I've read it once when I got it, and I really haven't revisited it since. So it's all kind of foggy to me.
Gotcha.
But
okay. With it being a time and place kind of book.
there are some bits of, like, I remember there's some bits where he's citing things that he's done, and issues 25 or something of Swamp Thing. So he is citing like early parts of his run and things he's already been doing in that sense.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense then.
yeah.
Okay. All right. For my next selection, I think I'm going to do a double dip here. I'm going to showcase two of them because I feel like they're kind of companion pieces, one after the other. Both of them by the same author here, talking about Shelley Bond. Well, let me take that back. Maybe not author. Maybe that's not the right terminology here, but she put together both of these books. But we have Hey Amateur. Let me go from novice to nailing it in 9 panels, which is a great book here. I'll showcase this one first, but then the other book here is Fast Times in Comic Book Editing here by Shelley Bond. So both different flavors of comic book creation, but this one is really cool because each page is essentially a comic book strip done by a different set of creators, or sometimes the same creator writing and drawing, and they all just take one different topic, and it doesn't have to be about the making of comics. Some of it is like how eating ridiculously spicy food. Let me see here. Let me find one of them here. I just saw. Come on, where did you go? I lost it. Okay, well here, let's showcase this one here. But yeah, you can see each page is basically a lesson in how to create a single page of a comic book by going over a single topic of the person's choosing, right? So each one is just a unique story that's going to show, I don't know, just a cool little look at how different pages can be laid out and how different approaches can be taken here. Here we go. Here's Alex Packnadell and Simon Bisley doing a comic strip. Like,
what?
Are you serious?
Damn,
Yeah.
dude.
But each one, again, like, I mean, some of it's just like totally silly off the wall kind of stuff. Here we go. But yeah, here's one that's very art focused, how to contour draw, right? So it goes over different tactics and all the different steps that you could take for that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. Each page is a different adventure that you could take. Each page is, again, a different creator that's going to be working on this stuff. Some that you know, some that you might not. Like I'm looking at one, Gail Simone, How to Destroy the Internet. Like, come on, tell me you don't want to read that.
Yes.
Yeah, we had the Packnadell one. We got Nick Robles, the artist that's on Absolute Flash right now. Tons of cool stuff in here. So this is a really cool adventure in that. And then this one, Fast Times in Comic Book Editing. For those who don't know, Shelley Bond was essentially, she was an editor at DC, particularly Vertigo, under Karen Berger's time at Vertigo. And when Karen Berger stepped aside, she took over and she became the next, editor-in-chief, if you will, over the entire Vertigo line. And what this book is here, Fast Times in Comic Book Editing, is really a comic strip a comic book that is all about her time working at Vertigo and going through all of the trials and tribulations of a transformative time in comics here. Like, here, I'll showcase this page right here. They were rock stars, going over Karen Berger, along with Peter Milligan, Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman. We got, awesome stuff right here. But it goes through all of the stories about all the background things that were happening in her life at that time in the late 80s, early 90s as a comic book editor at DC. Really cool stuff, really enjoyable read on here. And like the art in here, it changes from like portions of the story to portion of the story. All of it is really, really sound though. So is it cheating because it's a comic book? Yes, absolutely. But it's a comic that's totally worthwhile as well. So it's still about comics. So I figured this was kind of a cheeky one to still throw in there. And again, we just talked about the British invasion. So why not showcase this for one of my picks? All right, I'm going to show one more here. I'm going to showcase, it's kind of a trio. I'm going to do the cheating thing one more time here. We're going to talk about Will Eisner's trifecta of books right now, but this one is really the transformative one. This is the one that started everything, and it's kind of heralded under the same like train of thought as Understanding Comics, which is Will Eisner's Comics and Sequential Art. This is an awesome book. Again, under the same vein of like understanding comics. What does it mean to make a comic? How does a successful comic get made? By one of the masters. So Scott McCloud comes from it almost like a layman's point of view. He really breaks it down in an easy, understandable way. Will Eisner is not going to hold your hand through the process, though. He's going to give you maybe, like that was the remedial class. This is the advanced class right here. And it doesn't end with comics and sequential art. He has a whole course here. And it's awesome because these are really versions of his courses that he used to actually teach himself. So then we got Expressive Anatomy for Comics and Narrative, which goes over, again, some of the more artistic qualities here, showcasing some of the cool things that you could do with Will Eisner's artwork here. This dude dancing over here. Great stuff. And then we have graphic storytelling and the visual narrative. So these three books put together is like, I mean, it is seriously like taking a college course in the art of comic books as a medium, as specifically the creation of comic books. So if you're getting one, why not get three? These are these sacred texts to me. These are like the holy grail of comic creation, comic books, if you will. Will Eisner, yeah, like he's, again, I kind of regret not putting him on my Mount Rushmore, man. I'm looking back and I'm like, did Eisner deserve a spot? I think he did. I think maybe he did.
You had a solid one. I keep thinking on your Daniel Warren Johnson pick. That was a great pick, bro.
Well, Daniel Warren Johnson is a great creator, so I mean, he makes it easy.
Yeah. So who would you swap with Eisner then?
That's the thing. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. I don't want to swap. I just want to make a larger mountain.
Just say it.
No, there is no swap. I can't swap. I can't do it. No swap. But I will say, Will Eisner is deserving of a spot. So yeah. So I showcased.
If Will Eisner drops some blind bags, are you copping or?
No, I'm not gonna do that. Don't bring the blind bags up again, man. Jesus. Give me a complex. But yeah, so Shelley Bond and Will Eisner.
I gotta get that Shelley Bond. Show that the Shelley Bond one that you were talking about when I dipped out. Yeah.
Yeah, Fast Times in Comic Book Editing here. Hold on, let me
see
if I can.
Man, what a great cover.
It's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things in this book. I want to see if I can luck into getting back to the page that I was on because it's so good. It's basically a portrait. Yes, I was able to find it of all of the Vertigo creators and Karen Berger right there.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah. But it's a comic about being an editor at DC at the time where, again, Vertigo had become Vertigo and you really become transformative and, like, I don't know, being peers with all of these rock stars of comics. This is cool. Oh, I didn't showcase this either, but I did meet her at Heroes Con, so I was able to get the Siggy on there too.
It's sick. Oh
yes.
Yeah.
There we go. So Will Eisner and Shelley Bond here. Now I'm officially, that was like 5 books, like in a rapid fire kind of way. So now I'm definitely running a little bit thin. What else you got to show off?
I'm pretty much tapped out, man. I only got 2 left.
Okay, I'm in the same boat. We got 2, so we'll roll with these.
Do anything? Thoughts on Comics and Things by Warren Ellis.
What?
Yeah. This one is wild. It's all sorts of different meanderings, right? Like this one entry, a section from a list of comics creators, 3 favorite records because we don't know what Philip Droulet's favorite records are. All right, and he has just these list of favorite records from Dash Shaw, Molly Crabapple, Ed Brubaker, and himself. Do you want to hear Brubaker's?
Yes, please.
Here Come the Warm Jets by Brian Eno.
Okay.
Engine from American Music Club. I'm blind on. I've never heard of them.
That's a blind spot for me. Brian Eno for sure though. I know that I jam on
Either
that.
or from Elliott Smith. I know
Oh,
that one.
that's a heartbreaking album right there. It's so good though.
Oh yeah. Okay, Ed. Warrens or Berlin from Lou Reed. Congotronics from No. I hope I'm saying that right. And then the complete recordings of Robert Johnson. I like that.
Ooh, what? Yeah.
I think I relate most to Dash Shaw. Dash goes Thriller, Mike Jackson, Bitches Brew from Miles,
Ooh.
and the Mishima soundtrack from Philip Glass, bro. What the fuck? Like, no wonder Dash is the man. Are you familiar with Dash's work?
No.
Oh man, great artist. That's a super cool. So like shit like that is in this book. So super cool stuff. And and then like the article before that is about Stan Lee. And it's all like the theme of it is that Jack Kirby's like robot head is on his desk talking to him throughout all these like little different excerpts. So like that's the through line. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's wild. Like it says on the back, David Bowie, the CIA, Mad Architects, Will Eisner. There you go.
There we go.
Frank Zappa, Tintin, the designer of Skylab, a train station in Paris, Arthur C. Clarke, the circus, the Black Panther Party, and William S. Burroughs. All of these things are connected by Jack Kirby, all part of the secret history of comics, and all illustrating the special nature of the medium as a place where you can do anything. So,
dude, I need that in my life.
Do anything from Warren Ellis. Y'all pick it up. This is from Avatar Press. Dude.
Shout out to Avatar?
Yeah. Where the hell more book? Here it is. Hey, come on, Avatar. Let's go.
Yeah, apparently, yeah, they know what's up.
Oh yeah.
Dang
Bro Joe Station, sir. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming through, bro. Hope you're doing well. I miss you, man. Miss seeing your beautiful face.
Right. The face is all right. It's the pipes, man. It's the songs.
It is the pipes. It is the melodies that keep us coming back.
Exactly.
All right, I got one book left, bro, and then like the other one is one I just want to mention, but can't find. It's kind of comic book adjacent as well.
Okay. All right. Well, here let me showcase one more. We'll finish strong here. I got one more after this one I'm going to show, but very much akin to what you were talking about, Masters of Comics. I came across this in a half price books. And like the title said enough. Like I was just like, okay, cool. Like it's a half price books. Like I'll take a chance on it and see what's up. This is awesome though. Like very similar to what you were talking about here. What this is all about is just interviews with artists, but it's not like interviews like in the way of like, oh, so what do you have coming out? And like what do you want to promote? What do you want to pump up? Like it's really cool. It's all about like their approach to how they make artwork. It's artist specific. So they're talking about like, well, here's some of the questions. Like, what are your work patterns in your studio? Do you work regular hours in your home studio? Do you ever pull late nights to finish a job? What are the advantages and disadvantages of working at home? What's in your studio? Do you listen to music? If so, what music? So it's really cool things from that perspective, really kind of like diving in and getting to understand like how do these artists like go about their regular day? Like, you and I have jobs and I'm sure we have routines and we fall into those habits. It's kind of cool getting to know some of the habits of some of these artists that are in the game here. And I'd be remiss to not point out that it's always freaking Panosian time.
Bro, great.
Always Panosian time on a Naked Inside show. So he is one of the people that's in here along with here. Let me bust out the content so we can go over who's in this.
Also, comics most handsome man, dude. Dude could be a supermodel if he wanted to.
Could be. He was?
He was?
Yeah, oh, dude was a model back in the day.
Dan ain't playing with him.
Yeah, dude, he's always coming correct here. But yeah, we have Raphael
Or
Albuquerque, Lawrence Campbell, Travis Charest, Frank Cho, Dave Johnson, Jean-Paul Leon, Milo Manera. Let's see here: Dan Panosian, Sean Phillips, Frank Quitely, Eduardo Riso, P. Craig Russell, Tim Sale. The list continues: Bill Sienkiewicz, Walt Simonson, J.H. Williams. Dude, like tons. That's not even the entirety of this. So if you find yourself
that's
staring this book
awesome.
down, pick it up, man. It is really cool, and it's insightful in a way that you don't really get from a lot of interviews, where we really break down like, hey, how do you approach the craft of making these comics? Like, what is it that gets the juices flowing, man? Like, are you rocking out to Nine Inch Nails, or do you have something like some smooth jazz, some Yanni playing in the background? Really cool stuff like that. Arguably, almost as good as Studio Space from the Ink and Insights newsletter. Almost as good. But yes, check this out. Masters of Comics. Really cool stuff. And some of these artists, by the way, the like the late and great Tim Sale, Jean-Paul Leon, like some of the stuff is, again, worthwhile just to remember some of the people that we've lost as well. So check this one out.
Oh yeah.
All right. What is your final selection of the night? Because I've saved a banger for my last one.
I saved a banger for my last one, and I got you to thank for this one, bro.
Yes! Let's go!
Los Angeles Ink States. If we're going to talk about books about like the making of comics, man, this one was a joy to read. And this is pretty much Jim LaFood's diary through a certain part of his life. It's raw, it's unfiltered. It made me love. It made me a full-fledged fan of Jim LaFood and his style. So yeah, dude, this one I was not hip to until you put it on my radar. So I got to shout it out for you. I say save the best for last, man. But Los Angeles Ink Stains, Jim LaFood. I'll let you
Dude.
tell it better than I can, though, bro.
Oh, you already know. Like I love that book. It is of all of Jim LaFood's work, I think it is my absolute favorite. And it's just so personal and, like you said, so raw, but like incredibly fun. Like he there's a lifestyle that is presented in that book that I'm sure is maybe partially exaggerated, but man, it just seems like so much fun, man. It's a time and
Yes.
place kind of book where like it just gives you that feeling like you want that kind of energy and you want those kind of experiences. And like I would still strive for those kind of things. Maybe not all of them because I'm just too darn old for it at this point. But man, like it's just
No, it makes me pine for those younger days of my life for sure, and I'm
mhm.
sure it does for him too. But it's so cool to see just an artist like really in the mix, and like he'll go to a party and do some incredible shit, at the party, wake up the next morning, and and it's cool like seeing people like um MF Doom and fucking Jason Sean Alexander and all sorts of like the cast of characters that kind of comes through his life during this
Yeah.
time is incredible. But yeah, dude, I just love like you said the brutal honesty in it. It's dope to see um him share that with us, and it's not like Savage Street Vigilante where it's like this epic display of his ability as an artist. Like it's more confessional. There's not any like page I could point to or anything because it's all just newspaper strip style um
Mhm.
storytelling. But I love that about it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those special books for me as well because it reminds me of a time and place in my life too, where I at that point in my life when I was appreciating that stuff, I was heavy into that that scene as well, right? Like a lot of that stuff revolved around like the live art scene, and like I dove headfirst into that at that point in my life. I was going to see like Jim LaFood do live art. I was going to see like people that were in his posse do
Dude,
live
that's
art.
incredible.
It was, dude, let me tell you, it was a time and place that was just different. It was
Did you
just
know who he was at the time?
oh yeah, dude. Like
Okay.
I met Jim LaFood. I mean, granted, this was at a Wizard World in Chicago back in the early 2000s. I want to say 2002. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was 2002. But there was an MF Doom show that was right after or the same weekend of the convention, basically, that like they were all doing live art for. But that same crew of people and somebody that Jim LaFood was also like linked up with, Dave Crossland, he used to do work for a magazine that was up in Wisconsin called Taste Like Chicken. It was an art collective that was kind of like they all kind of came out of the Art Institute of Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. And they started publishing this art book, right, where they would do comic strips, interviews, all this kind of really cool stuff. And that whole crew got together and like would do live art shows like crazy. So I was always driving up to Milwaukee to see all those cats like do all their live artwork. I still follow a bunch of them, still have a lot of their artwork to this day from, the early 2000s, man. It was
That's
just,
awesome, dude.
it was a time and place for like expanding my musical horizons, my artistic horizons, understanding that comics could be different than Spider-Man
Amen,
and
man.
Batman.
Absolutely.
So the Los Angeles Ink Stains to me is always going to be a special book for that kind of stuff because it just draws me right back to that time in place. It's such a special book.
Oh yeah. But
Yeah.
that's it for me. I will end on this note because I tried to find this one, and it's not really a comic book, but it is like I said, comic book adjacent. Stephen King's On Writing is another book that I think is a fascinating glimpse into a creator and his process and like the wild ass life he's lived. When he's talking about like not even being able to remember writing some books at
Oh
all,
yeah, because he was
like because he was so out of it. Like,
Mhm.
but it's like very similar to Jim's book. It's refreshing in its honesty, and it's great to see how a true master of this form has adapted his approach to his work and you know and to storytelling like over time. So I gotta recommend that one. That one's just like one of my all time favorite books when it comes to anything on writing. So
Oh, dude.
shout out to yeah.
Yeah, Stephen King. I mean, yeah, it's not a hot take to say like he's one of my all-time favorite authors. I think that he does some of the absolute best characterization or making you care about characters in a really real natural way.
Dude,
His writing.
my
So good.
daughter just finished Carrie, and she was talking to me about the scene where she's the gym scene and like how she's like thinking about like the sound cripples her mind and she lets go of the doors for a minute, but then she like slams them shut, and she
Mhm.
knows whose finger she just like sliced off in the process,
Oh god.
and just
Yeah.
like just the way he describes it, man. It was like the scream is like it was an insane sound and triumphant, victorious. It's just like just the way he stages that. It's incredible, and it's just to think about like what horror would be without him is kind of crazy. So really,
Less robust for
yeah,
sure,
man,
man. Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Dang, man. Man, I want to track that down here, even though it's not comic
I know. I'm
related,
sorry,
but
but I
like,
had to end on that one. Yeah.
no, that's a great one, man. It makes me think back to like we could do like a whole episode on Stephen King, no joke, man. I could talk
Right.
about The Shining ad nauseum. I could talk about The Stand. I could talk about The Stand longer than The Stand, you know, actually takes to read. And let me tell you, that thing is a phone book. So
Hell yeah.
okay, I'm gonna end with a more recent book, but one that really I don't know. It was really influential. In fact, it may have been like the catalyst for me to start thinking about the fact that maybe a newsletter was something that we should start doing, and maybe we should think about I don't know, taking the approach of talking about comics and hanging out with the people who love comics in a different way. And it's Michelle Fife's
Oh
Create Oprah.
yes.
Dude, like
Thank great pick, dude.
yeah, I'm already a huge indie comic book fan, but like when I talk indie, I'm not talking necessarily about Image or Dark Horse and stuff like that. Self-published, yes, but like I'm talking about the dudes that are like doing it themselves, right? Taking these things like like old school style, taking it to Kinko's, man, getting the copies, folding the pages in half, stapling them themselves. That's it was kind of like the Jim Food style back in the day. Michel Fife, though, and like his approach on making comics and going through the process and being so unabashedly like, this is my way. It's not the way, but this is my approach on it. And it's how I found success. And kind of also going over some of the things that he would maybe do different nowadays and like some of the just the lessons learned going through what is now the better part of 50 issues of Copra, including the death of Copra. This is an awesome story or I shouldn't say story. This is an awesome book on
Epic.
on making comics, making self-published comics, and really going about it from the whole business standpoint of being able to do this successfully. yeah, Michel Fife, man, killed it with this book. I enjoyed this so much. And again, he's just one of those creators nowadays that like I continue to look back at his stuff and go like, man, I wish I was here from the jump. I wish I was there
Yeah.
from the onset because like I feel like I missed so much that I wish I was just able to experience it at that time and place where they were all coming out, because now I'm playing catch up and that's a glorious thing still, but to be there would have been really epic. So
And I just love that guy's just how he carries himself, right? Like meeting him at Heroes, he was so hilarious and kind of like off-putting and like
yeah.
in a way. Like I didn't know and it
Dude,
was
I
such
still
a
think about when you were
humorous
asking
verse,
him the
like I
question.
can't read.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, and my initial response was like, oh, that's okay, I'll read it for you. And I was like, what the fuck? Like that's
Yeah.
it's hilarious. Um, but
Uh,
he just when I think about his success and like how he's kind of arrived, as it were, but how he's still like maintained his integrity, not really diluted his brand, really like stayed
yeah.
true to what he wants to do. Like he knows what he kind of had to do to get here, and he's not gonna change things now. I love that about him, man. He just seems like such a down to earth, humble dude, and I knew he was a kindred soul when he like told us he was digging at the same spot we were at Heroes, you know, where
Yes.
all the good underground stuff was. So like, yeah, dude's incredible. Y'all go support Copra in any way, shape, or form. But that's a great pick, man. I completely forgot about that one. That's a great, more recent book. I think that
Oh
we've
yeah.
gotten, and I would like to see more books like that from these indie creators. Like I'd love to see Remender and Max Fiumara do a book like this about sacrifices or an issue or
Oh
something. You know what I mean? Like
God, dude.
that would be so sick. But
Well, and that's the cool thing. It's him talking, and he talks a lot about the fact like, hey, this is just the way that I do it, right? That doesn't mean that it's the right way, but
yeah,
like I could see Marty Keene putting out a book that would
yes,
be like the Marty Keene's way to do it. I could see Jim Rugg doing the same thing for his kind of book. The power panel guys, like I could see different approaches from every single one of them. And I gotta say, like I would eat it all up. Like there's so many different approaches and ways that you can find success in these books. And that's the great thing. I think that's the really unique thing about comic books is that I don't know, man. They're so different to different people, and there's so many different ways to approach them. Like I don't know, it's
yeah,
truly the reason why I love these things so much. It's part of what's being told right here. So I think that
beautiful,
does it.
man.
I think
Yeah,
that that puts everything to bed. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of new books, honestly, and that excites me because that just tells me that there's so much more deep diving that needs to be done. At least I'll speak for myself on my side. There's so much more ground to be unearthed, and that's really really exciting because we don't know it all. So that's it, man. That's
oh
our
yeah.
sacred texts of comic books, man. But before we get out of here, Stu, why don't you tell the folks about a little bit of something of what's going on tomorrow evening?
Tomorrow evening, as always, guys. Every Wednesday night. Oh, look at that glorious thumbnail. Oh man,
It is really nice.
we love you. We love you, Wes Craig. I'm so proud of that one. Even though it was like the easiest thumbnail I've ever made, I was like, I saw that page. I was like, well, that's a no-brainer.
It works so well as a thumbnail, dude.
Yeah, guys, tomorrow night, Ink and Insights, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about Kaya. We got Kaya Superman, Absolute Martian Manhunter on deck, but there's going to be a bevy of good books that we're going to briefly talk about and cover. So come through and hang with us, man. As always, appreciate all y'all in the chat. We got so many great recommendations. Thank you to JD and anybody else tonight who came through and gave us a recommendation. To you guys not watching this live, if you have a recommendation for a book about comic books or the history of comics or the making of comics that we didn't cover here, you didn't see mentioned here, please let us know because the more the merrier, man. Let's celebrate this amazing culture and this art form, and I love these books that do so. So yeah, any titles that we missed out on just let us know. But thank all of y'all for coming through, and all y'all who spend Tuesday and Wednesday with us. But hope to see you guys again tomorrow night, man. It's gonna be a great show. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about Kaya, bro.
Dude. Yes, it's gonna be a great conversation because there's a lot to go over in this issue. I can't say too much. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Yeah,
But
we got the end of the arc, as it were, with the Absolute Martian Manhunter as well. Like, got Drones out there, Knives is out there from Brubaker and Phillips. There's so many great books, man.
last week was a really strong
Oh
week to
my
be a comic
god,
book fan, man. Let me just
amazing!
say that it was.
I love, like, you got to remember that in those anemic dry weeks. You know what I mean? Those fifth weeks or whatever it be, where
Yeah,
you're really hurting for books to talk about, man. You just get these weeks where it's just a deluge of goodness, and this was without a doubt one of those.
yes, absolutely, man.
I
So
love it
make
when
sure.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry to just keep rambling. I love it when I pull up my new release page on League of Comic Geeks, and I just see those green lights from all the
The
series that
pull
I pulled,
indicator. Yeah.
dude, and it's all like ding 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 ding. I'm like, yo, this week is stacked. It's the
Yeah.
best feeling.
It's good for the
Anyway,
eyeball, it's bad for the wallet.
amen, brother. You said a
Yeah.
word there. Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, make sure you catch us tomorrow night, 9:30 Eastern time, over on Dr. Doom's fan club for Ink and Insights. Dude,
Yes.
episode 47. We are nearing episode
I know.
52 here. That's gonna mark a year's worth of Ink and Insights. And like that really excites me, man.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Outside
Likewise.
of that, make sure that you catch us right here next Tuesday, where we will be going over
Oh my
1986,
god.
the year that changed
We're gonna
comics.
be here for 4 hours, folks.
It might be one of those kind of episodes, man, because there is so much. We there's
Oh
going to be half the
man.
things that we leave on the cutting room floor. This is
I
going to be a
cannot
bang.
wait.
Yes,
Wow.
yeah, we're gonna have some fun here. So
That's one of those years that makes you believe in, like, creative confluence and, like, energy and everything moving kind of towards the same direction at the same time.
man, isn't that a positive train of thought? We need
It
a little bit
is.
of we need a little
And
bit
we
of that.
do. We do. It can
Yes.
change the shit like that can change the world, no doubt.
It may have actually changed the world, but catch us next Tuesday. We'll talk all about that. For all of you that were hanging with us tonight, though, thank you so much. We appreciate you. For everyone catching on the rewind, let us know again, like Stu was saying, what your favorite comic book
Yes.
book about comic books is. Clue us in here, because we got some reading to do, and maybe we'll have to do a follow-up episode about all of the new knowledge that we've attained here because of your help. So in the meantime, thank you for hanging us with us. We'll talk to you next week, and have a great evening.
Later, y'all.